All right, it's saying preparing to live stream the meeting. There we go. Setting up your meeting for YouTube Live. Redirecting to YouTube. Okay, I think we're live.
Yay.
Okay, we are live. Hi. Hey
Yeah.
everyone.
How are you?
Super good. How are you?
Well, thank you for having me.
Oh no, I truly appreciate you for being here. So while we're waiting on some folks to get in the room, for lack of better words, what I'm going to do is post on social media as I always do. I'm going to share the direct link to this live. So that way folks can jump in and ask you some questions. I actually do have some questions for you that
Mm.
people sent through Facebook. Actually, I think last time we had some people send some questions through LinkedIn, but this time they came from Facebook. So shout out to my peeps that asked some questions via Facebook. All right. So speaking of Facebook, I'm logging in now to share our link. We're live right now. Join us. Okay. And I'm going to do a quick screen capture of you and me. All right. So let me
Okay,
post this on social.
my headset now.
Okay. And I don't know if we have anyone with us just yet, but if you are here, welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me share this on Facebook. And then I'm going to hop over to LinkedIn and and then I'll share it on Instagram and then we'll get started. So
All
maybe
right,
about
sounds
five
good.
after we'll officially get started.
Okay, I'm
Let
gonna
me
grab some
see.
water real quick.
Okay, perfect. Perfect, perfect. Let me share this. And we're live. Join us now, folks. Okay. And let me go over to Instagram and share there. Okay. So while I'm doing that, let me also, hey, Jonathan, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome, welcome. Jonathan, if you know some more people who can benefit from the knowledge that will be shared this evening, please, please, please invite them to join us. Okay, and you all, I'm just going to do one more social media push, and then we're going to get started. Because if anybody knows anything about me, is I'm very punctual, probably to a fault. I will never forget I was going over a good friend's house. Hello, my love, Marcus. Hey, Marcus. Um, I was going over a friend's house and I was running a bit late. And so I sent him a message and I was like, hey, my GPS says I'll be there at this time. I'm probably going to be about 10 minutes late. And he was like, girl, it's not a business meeting. It's my house. Like, just come whenever you can, just get here. So I try to turn off the business savviness, let me not say business savvy. I try to turn off the business side of me, but honestly, I think it's just a part of me at this point. Um, Let me just shout out a couple more people. Andrita. Hey, Andrita. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Willie Mae Aldrich. Welcome. Thank you, peeps. Jonathan, I think Jonathan was here when you stepped away, Designate. Jonathan Pope, he's here as well. So
Nice.
welcome, fam.
Hello,
Thank you all
hello,
so much for
hello.
being here. And
Hi,
then being here
guys.
on time. It's amazing.
A few of those people I know are always on time that you just named.
Listen, that is
That's the on
amazing.
time crew.
I love it. Okay, so again, what I'm doing now is literally just um sharing this post on Instagram. Join now. I will tell you, Des, that this is definitely a hot topic. Um,
I love
and I'm
that.
not going to give away too much because I know that we're going to, dive in, but I think that people are realizing since COVID how real estate has really surged in terms of the cost of, owning property. And a lot of people really cashed in around the like, oh shoot, I probably shouldn't be saying the C word. I hope that YouTube doesn't try to penalize me for that. But nevertheless, um around the time when the whole world shut down, we'll just say that people
Hmm.
really cashed in and some lives were changed in a major way, in a really good way. So I definitely anticipate this live discussion to be pretty engaging because I know that there are some folks who really want to know, okay, like, how do I tap into this wealth?
Hmm.
And I know that you're going to share that with us. Okay.
Absolutely.
So I've shared on Instagram now. I'm going to send out a final email blast and then I promise I am done. Welcome,
No
welcome.
worries. Take your time. Take your time.
Latoya.
Well, I'll be
Latoya.
personal with it that I just let our line sisters know that we're live.
Pull up, LS's, pull up. Where y'all at? Come through. Okay, so I'm literally just gonna send this quick email and then I promise I'm done. At first I was like, oh, I'm done after I do this other thing, but I forgot, of course, email. And then I promise I'm done for real. I'm ready to lock in.
You all good, girl.
Okay, so here we go. Let me send this email. There
How
we
do I
go.
sound too? I did want to know that. I got these headphones in. Is
You
it good
sound
for you?
clear on this end. Well,
Okay.
could you say a little bit more? I'm sorry.
Okay. Testing, testing. One, two. Can you
Okay,
hear me? Is it
I
good? Is that
can,
enough? Okay.
yes, I can definitely hear you. Let me see what the the folks who are tuning in are saying. Can you all hear Des well? Makila said, "Hi, Des. I hope I pronounced your name correctly, you all. If I mispronounce your name, I apologize. Please charge
Michaela.
it to the brain, not the heart." Okay, so let me send this email. Come on, come on. YouTube live. There we are. Yes. And I just need to update it with the link. Click here. There we go. Okay, so
Hey, Chris.
if you're on my email list, you will be getting this message here in just a couple of minutes. Join us to ask all of your burning questions to Des. Okay, let me see. Click here to join us right now. There we are.
All of the burning questions, eh?
Hey, not any old questions, Des. We need the burning
Okay.
questions, okay?
Okay.
We want to
Okay.
get to the heart of the matter. So, okay, promise. I'm wrapping this up. Okay. Yep. Send. Yep. And send immediately. And all right, great. So that should be going out to my list in a couple of minutes. Okay,
Nice.
so we will go ahead and we're gonna go ahead and get started here. I see Marvin. I see Gugu. Again, please, you all. I apologize if I mispronounce your name. Charge it to the brain, not the heart. Um,
Hey guys, hey team. Google's on my team.
I
Yana's on
did say
my
that.
team too.
I
Yep.
pronounced that correctly.
Uh-huh.
Excellent.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay. So first of all, welcome. Des, I am super, super, super excited to have you for more reasons than one. As you mentioned early on in the conversation, we are line sisters, and so you are quite literally my sister.
Quite
So,
literally.
like literally. So just off of that, like alone, I just want to say thank you so much for lending and sharing your time, your expertise with me and the world. I don't take it for granted. And I always feel super honored and privileged to collaborate with people that I love, family. So I just wanted to thank you for that. Um,
Same.
I also definitely want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to everyone. So if you would please introduce yourself.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Maria. The 4 and the 24 is added today. Uh,
Yes.
and I'm honored to be here myself. That that you saw from conversations that we've had that this information could be useful for your community. So I am honored to be here as well. My name is Des Ealey-Carson, and I am the co-founder and CEO of Land Scout Pro. I have been in the real estate industry for about 10 years. I started off in processing, doing some junior underwriting. I also worked for probably most of the residential lenders in the US, some of the top 10 definitely. From there, I got recruited by the SBA, and I was a loan officer there for quite some time. And now I am branching off into development. And thank you. It was so now I'm developing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna call myself a professional developer, which is why I'm really glad that you had me for like the 101 class because the my specialty is in land.
Okay.
And what I am doing is kind of taking those skills that I acquired over the years and utilizing them in this way to help source land for builders and developers. So I'm able to, they're able to tell me their vision. It's kind of like our logo, your vision, our land
Love it.
expertise. And they're able to tell me what it is that they're building. So I'm able to hear, oh, I'm building apartment complexes and source the land for that, or I'm building duplexes, and then I know, okay, you're gonna need 5,000 square foot lot. So that's the type of thing that I do, and looking for um, where is the best place to buy land for whatever
Okay.
project that they have.
Okay, wow. So that is actually super unique. Personally, I've never heard of that type of development. So again, I'm so pumped to learn more about this space and just your ex tapping into your expertise. With that being said, super quickly, I just want to introduce myself to those of you who are new here to the channel. My name is Maria Lloyd. I am the CEO and founder of a marketing firm named Opens Clicks Cash. And we specialize in email marketing, lead generation, as well as CRM marketing automation. I am also the author of a book titled Words Are Wealth. And I'm on a personal mission to help as many small business owners as possible reach their first six figures in business. If that resonates with you, I want to invite you to come along with me on this journey by simply liking this video and subscribing to the channel. So again, Des just introduced herself beautifully, and now we are going to dive right in with the questions because I'm super eager to learn more about the space. So,
Okay.
Des, my first question for you is, would you please describe exactly like what is land acquisition? Like, what is a land acquisition specialist? I know that you kind of explained just a moment ago, like what you do in your capacity. You're kind of looking for this land for these different projects and things like that. But could you give us a super simple definition of what a land acquisition specialist is and what makes this different from other real estate investment opportunities? So, when you think about real estate investing, of course, you've got flipping homes, you've got acquiring tax lien properties that have a tax lien on them, and just
Mm-hmm.
good old fashioned, I'm going to buy this property and rent it out, right? Get some tenants to rent out this home. So,
Mm-hmm.
what is a land acquisition specialist? And then, how does this space differ from those other real estate investment opportunities?
Yeah. Okay. So a land acquisition specialist, they would be the ones who identify, they'll evaluate, and then they'll secure the land for the development. So, or the investment, whichever one it's going to be.
Okay.
It's about they find the land where it's potential for future growth, for development. So we don't buy any existing properties or anything like that. But if we see something that is coming, and it's like paying attention to the news and all sorts of things, what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'll tell you a little bit about that because going to chamber of commerce meetings, going like things like that, you find out where the growth is going, and then I market in those areas to find land before it goes there. So it kind of
Hmm.
it's a lot of foresight in that, where I have to know the economic development landscape that's around each city that I go into.
Oh wow. Okay, that's very interesting. In a very in a unique way, it reminds me of like a buyer for a fashion brand, right? Where you've got to have this keen insight and ability to like forecast what's going to be hot for the next season, but in your case, obviously for the next development, the next town that's like actively growing. So
The
that is
crazy
really
part is,
cool.
how like all things come from trauma, right? Like
Yeah.
you be figuring it out. So my way of even figuring out like market demand was because I was a processor, and that's how I started off in the real estate industry. And I don't know if anybody knows about processing, but they're always the first to go in a lending company. Like if the
Oh,
market cycle is turning, processors are the first to go, then they'll do underwriters, then they'll do loan officers. So it's like that was how I had to pay attention because I'm like, okay, am I gonna have to, do a little side hustle, do a little something here or there because I didn't know when that would happen in that shift. So it made me start paying attention to the market. And
mm-hmm,
then I was able to foresee things and be able to kind of pivot and do other things, or to even know, or to save up, or, something like that.
mm-hmm.
So that, I think it really, it really taught me like a firsthand lesson on how to pay attention to that.
Wow, that is so interesting. Okay. So my next question is I actually want to dive into your why because let's be honest, it's not every day that you meet a woman who's in real estate development. That is a very male dominated industry. I have personally, as a marketing expert, worked with real estate development firms, and again, all men, right? So, as a woman, and especially an African American woman, why did you choose real estate development? Like, why is it important to you?
Okay. So that's a lot. Okay, I'm gonna
Right?
take
I
it
was
like
like, uh-oh,
uh,
uh-oh.
I would take it. So for me, why? I mean, and I think that other people have experienced this pain point, right? Like, how many times have you gotten tired of seeing liquor store, church, liquor store, now dispensary? Like you see this in our communities, right?
Yes.
And you don't see resources in our community. And I think that I was raised like this. And I say that like I may be like a first generation going into real estate development, but I'm definitely second generation or more activist, right?
Mm,
Like I was raised to pay attention to the community around me. My dad, honestly, he had me in chamber of commerce meetings. He had me in city council meetings. And what people didn't know is that like me and my sisters, we sometimes did too much, and so a prize for us taking good notes for him was that we got to pick a dessert, or something like
wow.
that. So it really actually made us pay attention to what was going on in the room. And women are, and especially Black women, are considered pillars of the community, right? But
Yeah.
we're not building them. We're not building them. So that is why you see liquor store. And I had to figure it out because I kept going, why? Why does every community where people look like me have this set up? And the thing is development. It's very political. It literally with me even doing land now, it's a insane the amount of things that I get to see and understand. Like, oh, they just built a community building here, so they're gonna need this, commercial space here. And for me, I wanted to make real change. I had to, like, for personal reasons. I needed to see a change made, and you can't talk about a change and then you don't get in and pull up your sleeves and do the work. There's only 4% of African American um, developers, So for me, I had to get in the game, and my way of getting in the game was to add value. I utilized my skills in processing and underwriting, and I found a way to add value to who was already in that space, the builders and developers that were already in that space, so that I'm bringing them value and they could share with me how I could do sustainable housing.
Wow. Okay. Like, so many things stuck out as you were speaking. Number one, as an entrepreneur, I interface with a lot of business owners, and it's very shocking to me how few of them are even familiar with what a chamber of commerce is. So the fact that your
That part.
father brought you and your sisters into the fold, right? At a very young age, and even had you taking notes. I mean, that, like, shout out to Pops, because that is really amazing. Like, seriously, I am blown away. That is so, like, that exposure that you
Yeah.
all got at such a young age. That is so commendable. So again, shout out to Pops, shout out to great parents who, expose their kids to amazing things, because now look, with you being who you are and being the change that you wish to see, the chamber plays to some degree, probably a large degree, a lot in what it plays a huge role rather in what you are doing. So, wow, that
Mhm.
that really like
And
stuck
the
out. That's amazing.
economic Yeah, and the economic development centers. Every city has an economic development center. I think that those are two really widely overlooked
Yeah.
organizations in every city. In which, if you are doing business in the city, you really need to visit them first. As like even just a sign of respect, kind of. That you go in there if you're a new business, and then the economic development center, they really give you the landscape of any city. Even if I'm not, I've I flipped a house in Florida, and not a house, land in Florida, but to a bigger builder. And their economic development center, the information that they provided was made it easy for me to negotiate. So,
Wow.
make friends with those people. They are great.
Man, listen, I hope people are catching the gems that you are dropping. First of all, that was a huge gem that you just dropped. I just want to repeat this. So, what Des just said is that she leverages the information that she gets from the Economic Development Center to then go back and negotiate with developers. I mean, that, like, I wish I had sound effects, because I would literally do a mic drop or a bomb, whatever the little sound effect is. Like, that is a huge gem. So thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
one other thing that I want to ask you tonight is, and I think this one is definitely a loaded question. It's probably something that especially people in my audience want to know, because we're more or less, we're entrepreneurs, right? So when you think about land, like real estate development and stuff like that, it is entrepreneurship, right? It's just a little different from kind of the traditional, product or service-based business. But I mean, it's entrepreneurship as well. Um,
Absolutely.
but with that being said, I would like, if you would please, and again, I realize that this is probably a very loaded question, but I know it's something that my audience wants to know. How does one get started in this space? How do we get started? Do we need any kind of certificate? Like, what do we got to do?
You do need to be in real estate. Okay, so like, to be 100% honest, right? So me being a land acquisition specialist, I call myself that because I've been in real estate for 10 years. So it would be a misstep for me to call myself a wholesaler. But really, I'm doing some fancy wholesaling. I'm just taking land to builders. So, right? So it could be looked at it like that. I don't say that because I am I've been in real estate for 10 years. I've been on the
Mm-hmm.
backside. I've, you know, I've seen over thousands of transactions in real estate. So I'm not gonna just be like, oh yeah, wholesale. Like that, it would just be craziness, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you can start there though. You can start with wholesaling. You can you don't need a license in most states to do that. Even with houses, with property. So you can start in the real estate, getting your feet wet there, and then join a community. Um, that is so important. Community is so important. I am a member of a group called Women in Real Estate. I'm the Houston chapter leader here, and it's I mean, we have developers, we have real estate agents, we have lenders, we have brokers, we have commercial analysts, we have interior designers, we have architects. Like literally every piece of the puzzle touches this organization. So I don't ever have to feel alone. Like I I was going up for a position into another development firm. And I called on one of the girls. She's actually the Florida chapter, one of the Florida chapter leaders. And I called her. She's a commercial analyst. She gets on the phone with me for 2 hours and she's helping me with my performa. That's like a real estate business plan. And so she's helping me with that. She's showing me things and we're bouncing ideas off of each other because she's in underwriting as well. So we're having that conversation. And then I go to lunch and it's like, they're like, oh, we love this. Like, we want you. We want, and then I'm like, well, if you love it, then like, you'll love her too because she helped me with this. And, she ended up being, that ended up being one of her clients as well.
Nice.
So it works out when you have a community, especially a community of women. I think if you are a woman, for me, that helps because, like you stated earlier, I am in a male dominated industry. And I'm a mom too. So, having additional support and having a community which they understand the things that I do as um, not only a professional, but a woman as well. Um, I think that that's extremely important. And there is a lot of continued education out there. I definitely recommend I recommend reading Emerging Real Estate Markets. Dave Wendell, that's one good book that was really good to help understanding marketing cycles. Um, People's Principles. You can really understand some of the ins and outs of one of the first Black developers. And I think that really educating yourself, education and being active and getting involved in your community, I think that those are the real ways into real estate because it's very political and it is you have to be in touch with the people who are around you. So in getting in touch with your community and then getting that education at the same time, I think that that's the best way to do it. But you can get your feet wet, however.
Right. Get it how you live. So, okay. You shared something in the beginning of your response to this question that was wholesale. Could you break that down for those of us who are not? What is wholesaling?
So really, it's an assignment of a contract, right? So say I was to do a contract with a property or land. For me, I'm just going to talk on land. I would do a vacant land contract, right, with a seller of a property of land, and then I have a end buyer. So I could essentially do what's called a double close, in which in the a transaction A is me closing with the seller of the land, and then transaction B is the bigger builder, DR Horton, K Hovinian, something like that, purchasing that land from me. So
Okay.
that would be wholesaling. It's you being in the middle, being the kind of the connector between the seller and the end buyer.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay. All right. So, middleman in the situation. Okay.
Yeah, but you use your marketing dollars, and I think that that's the thing that people don't understand. You do need to market in order to wholesale. You do have to find the land. So you either need to be cold calling or you have to have some type of marketing CRM system, texting, however choose your marketing stuff. There's tons of stuff out there. Direct mail that you can do. Um, so there's quite a few things that you can do in order to market and find properties and or land. You just have to um, get in the middle.
Okay. So, okay, thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to share also that when you were talking about the importance of getting involved with community, one thing that I can recall is I know someone whose grandfather was able to build up a very lucrative real estate portfolio as a result of being active in the local church. And it was
Mm-hmm.
through the church, as people were, as families were transitioning, let's say that, families were moving to another state,
Mm-hmm.
or unfortunately, if there were a loss in the family, right? Um, what would happen is this person's grandfather would approach the family and offer a deal, offer them a deal to buy the property. And so literally over time, he was able to amass a very large real estate portfolio as a result of that. And his is majority single family homes. But the point is, I really appreciate the fact that you brought up the importance of community and
Yeah.
the role that it plays in getting started in real estate. And I actually personally I feel like that has a dual benefit because on one hand, yes, if you are a member of that community, naturally you will want to see things improve. So you would not
Right.
want to bring a bunch of liquor stores, as you mentioned early on in the conversation. You wouldn't want to bring those sort of businesses or attractions, if you will, that will bring forth and some people that may not mean it well for that community, for lack of better words.
Right.
um, and then also, in addition to that, again, being able to, perhaps source some great deals. You may be able to find property at a huge discount because you know the family, you know that they are in dire need of cash in that moment, and so you can help them, and it's
Yeah.
a win-win for everybody. So I just wanted to highlight that I really appreciate you for sharing that community aspect. Because I see in so many
Absolutely.
ways how that's a benefit to everyone involved.
Yeah. And sometimes we don't even know, like the amount of right now, I have a situation that's in probate here in Texas, where even one of the siblings is still a minor, and their father unfortunately passed away. So,
Mm,
what do we do with that land?
yeah.
Do we develop on it? Do we sell it? Like, and just and even being in a position to help them out with those types of decisions. And then there's some families who are sitting on land, where they they aren't sure, who has the land and what is going to happen with it. And we as the people end up losing a lot of our land through family lines that aren't just being kept track of. So that is also like one of the missions for me as I get further along in this. That's really a goal for me is finding, and making sure that our land is not being taken by the government or tax liens
Hmm.
or just going away because, we had someone pass in the family and now nobody knows what to do with, grandma's land. So we need to figure that out for sure.
Okay. So you've given us the rundown on what we need to do to get started. Now I'm going to get into what I would consider to be a few more advanced questions, right? So we've already we put our toe
Okay.
in the water. And so I'm going to ask you now, when it comes to purchasing land, what specific attributes should someone look for to decide if it's a good purchase, right? So I know that obviously we talked about the importance of kind of projecting or forecasting the economic development that's happening in that particular area. But is there something else, maybe something more physical, such as is this land developed already? Meaning, like, does it have, electricity and plumbing and stuff already there? So yeah, I'm just curious, like, what should we
Gotcha.
look for?
Location is definitely one of them.
Okay.
But also proximity to amenities, to other infrastructure, to future development plans. So yes, with the Economic Development Center, but you also want to make sure that if you're looking for a subdivision, that there's a gas station nearby, there's a grocery store, there's a bank, there's all of a hospital. Those are things that you need. So location to amenities is really important. Zoning in a lot of places Houston, our zone is wide open. We loved it. Some people love it. It's a love hate relationship with it, but we don't really have zoning here. But there are some places that do heavily zone, and then they hold up the process. Did I freeze? Okay, sorry. They hold up the process with the development. The topography. So what I mean by that is this land buildable? So you can have 25 plus acres, but if there's a creek running through it, you can only build on 10. So you have to understand what is the buildable environment there. Is there any restrictions that's in that area? Utilities, access to water, electricity, sewer. So water, sewer, drainage, the WSD. You want to make sure that there is. Now, when I do infill lots, the infill lot is a lot that is vacant that's in the middle of a neighborhood. So say you driving down, you see all of these houses and then you see it
Mm-hmm.
vacant. So that's an infill lot. So you don't have to worry about really, you do have to worry about water taps and things like
Mm-hmm.
that, but you don't have to worry about infrastructure because there's infrastructure all around it. But say you're going out into the country and there isn't anything around it. Now you have to understand how can you get access to the water system, the sewage systems, and then how long would it take to get from where the cutoff is for those things to you and where your development is stationed at. So you want to just make sure that there is a closer proximity or that cost is going to go way up if you're building complete infrastructure. Um,
Wow.
yeah. Well, like right now, okay, I'll give you one of the deals that I'm doing right now. It's a church out and in Texas here on the outside outskirts of Houston. And they are actually flipping the land themselves, but they um they have water, sewer, and drainage already there. So now this is improved land, right? Instead, it's nothing there, but now this land is improved. So you also can do something like that. You don't necessarily have to build a house or anything like that. You can just prep it for housework and you can even make a profit in that way on flipping the land. So that's something that you would look for in a good land purchase. Can I come in, just add water, sewers, and drainage, do that infrastructure, and then get out of the deal? Because then someone like a DR Horton or a home builder. I'm just gonna say home builder. They don't give me for using their name so much today. But any home builder can come and then they can go what we call vertical. So when you do just a land improvement, it's just raw land, and then you go to the water, sewer, drainage. Um, then that's when you get into the first phase of ground up development. So you want to, I know that I said that to say a lot, but those are things that you do have to look for when you're looking at land. What can you do? What's your exit strategy in that specific area? Do you want to just go horizontal or do you want to go horizontal with infrastructure and then vertical with housing?
Gosh, this is a master class. This is this is a literal master class. Like, I'm learning so much. Okay. So this is kind of like an aside, but I am curious. And let me know if this question is a bit too broad or vague, rather. So when we talk about the infrastructure, right? If you get this raw land and you want to go ahead and get the sewage and the drainage and the water and stuff on that land, approximately how much does that cost? I guess if we're talking in acreage. So if I have 10 acres of land and it's raw and I want to build that infrastructure, approximately what am I looking at in terms of cost?
Um, Infrastructure on probably 10 acres. Now, this really just depends on where you are, right?
Okay.
I'll give you example. I'm gonna give you a case study of something
Okay.
that I'm actually kind of in the middle of. So we have 31-acre property in which right now the invoice for the infrastructure started out at 1.7 million for 31 acres. And that's just water, sewer, drainage. And what we call is like a complete phase one. A complete phase one would include the water, sewer, and drainage, plus the roads, the signs, the entitlement, and what we call cutting them, subdividing.
Hmm.
So all of the houses have to have a certain amount. So 60 by 120 feet or 50 feet by 100 feet, because the city has setbacks and they have regulations as to how you can build. So you would do that in a complete full phase one. I hope I
No, that was
answered
very
the
helpful.
question. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
that was definitely
So
helpful.
that's about
So,
that cost would be about 1.7 on 31 acres is what I'm saying. Because that's all of the things that would be done in that phase.
okay, so it costs 1.7 million to like get all of that infrastructure built. Okay, on 30 acres of land, and obviously, like you mentioned, it's contingent upon where the land is, and okay, got it. Okay, I was very
You would
curious
consult
about
with
that.
the Yeah, you would consult with the engineer. You definitely want to get an engineer involved with that because they'll help you do that. And then there's infrastructure companies. You just want to make sure that you kind of like get your quotes. Or really, I think real estate is really a recommendation thing. You want to know some people in that city and definitely get recommendation on who is good and who, may run off with the bag.
Yeah,
So you want to make sure that they do quality work because again, this is people's homes. This is where they're going to be living at. You can't have them, in a messed up situation that's underground. That's not,
exactly.
yeah. So we have to have just, you have to make sure that you're getting people who have integrity and who are going to do the job.
Okay, and I think that this is a really good segue into my next question when you talked about, folks running with the bag, running off with the bag, right? So, what are some associated risks with land acquisition? Like someone in your space, what are some risks that are involved, right? We can't assume that it's always a win. So, what are some of those risks that are associated with the space?
Well, okay, so development, one, even in land acquisition, what I'm doing is your own personal, um, you're a contract person, so you are an entrepreneur. So that's the risk. Like really, we all know the risk of entrepreneurship, right?
Ooh,
Just
don't
in
we
that
ever?
space. Just in that space. So that's one big risk. Another risk is really dealing with people who just aren't ethical, who don't share the same moral compass that you do. And they are okay with cutting corners in order to save someone else a dollar or themselves a dollar or to get ahead. So that's a definite risk. Um, as far as when you're looking for land, just okay, so I say like go to people who actually know what they're doing because land it can be tricky even though it's not that much to it. It can really be tricky. So you want to make sure that you go to someone who can look at the topography, who knows to look at GIS mappings, who know
Mm.
how the city marks the water pipes and like and being able to tell if the pipes near a certain development is going to be good. So you take those risks when you don't go to the professionals. I will say that, especially in development. And as a developer, a lot of times you don't get paid until the exit of your development. So you may get some fees in between there
Ooh,
as a fee developer, but sometimes you don't really get paid. I mean, you can definitely pay yourself. This is a business, entrepreneurship, but the real big payouts usually don't come until the exit of that project. So you have to sometimes have 12 months of your expenses lined up. Or yeah, yeah. I wish somebody would have told me that before I said I wanted to be a developer. That's what I wish they would have told me.
Right?
Because I mean, it and also in commercial real estate too. Like I talked to some of my commercial real estate friends, and they're just like, sometimes in commercial real estate, those you have fewer transactions, really big profit margins, but fewer transactions. So you might only have two, three, four transactions a year, and you just have to make sure that you're budgeting and you're staying consistent. But that's a developer really may only have one or two projects a year, and that's what they work on the entire year. So,
So, okay, with that being said, this is like an aside, but like, so where does the funding come from? So literally, is the funding all just coming from like people's savings or something? Or like, how are people getting the money to even get started?
man, I'm so glad you asked. We don't, and that's why we're not developers. So, like, that's the really crazy part, right, about diversity and development, because again, there's not very many of us. A lot of us are first generation. And so we don't have family and friends to call on to say, hey, you know what, guys, I know what I'm doing in real estate. Just come on and we're going to raise 35 million to go do a subdivision real quick. Like a lot of our community, we don't have it like that. So, one way that of getting into development is really going into the space, finding a developer and bringing value to them so that they can teach you or they can JV with you. Because really,
Mm,
the banks, and even if you, let's say, because if you have great credit, you can have immaculate credit, right?
mm-hmm,
And a bank will not lend to you to do the horizontal, that infrastructure I'm talking about. They will
mm-hmm.
not lend to you unless you've had 4 or 5 development experiences under your belt. They will not lend to
Interesting.
you. You can be I am dispositioning a lot of subdivision deals right now as well. I had a gentleman who came to me in the lending space, great guy, started a development, got it all of the infrastructure done, all of the whole phase one that I was telling you about done. Because he was a first time builder, nobody would give him any money to go vertical. So he had to sell the entire project because he didn't have that experience. So we also have to find, and that's why I don't gatekeep, right? You see, I'm like, whatever gems I
Mm-hmm,
got, y'all
mm-hmm.
can have, because there needs to be more of us. And unless we all stop gatekeeping this information, like hoarding it, you won't know.
Mm-hmm.
And really,
Mm-hmm.
you do need to, you need to partner with and you need to JV with the developer, because honestly, that's how you get access to the funding, is because you have to get those experiences from another developer who is holding your hand and giving them to you.
Wow. Okay.
It's kind of
Very
a gate
interesting.
kept industry, actually, if you
Yeah,
think
that's what I
about
was
it.
thinking. I'm like, oh wow, like that's tough. I mean, again, as someone who has worked with real estate developers, I will say that, and this the ones that I'm talking about in particular are Black American, African American developers. I remember that we were hired to work with this developer to help raise funds for a brand new project, actually in Texas. I think I talked to you about this project. And
Lake
so,
Noir. Isn't it Lake Noir?
exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
And
They're
so,
doing like tiny home. Is it tiny home cottages that they're doing?
exactly. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a tiny home retreat, and the tiny homes all kind of border the lake on the
Mhm.
property. And I remember
Super
the
dope
way.
idea.
It is. It really is. Lots of potential and profitability in that space.
Hmm.
And I remember when we were approached about this particular project in terms of the marketing and stuff like that for this particular project. The approach in terms of funding was the advantage, rather, I'll start there. The advantage with this particular project is that the land was already owned outright by the developer, right? And so that was really good because, that cut down some of the costs. He got it at a really good deal.
Right.
And then the rest of the funding that would go into building the tiny homes and digging and creating the lake and all of that was going to come from crowdfunding. And so that's where we came in, right? We were able to help this developer successfully raise over 560,000, which at that point he was then able to take that to the bank and get, seven figures, right? So
I
it's
love
just
that. I love that. And I love that you was a part of that. Like,
thank
and
you.
yeah, right now I'm actually literally pitching, and I gotta send you my pitch too.
Okay.
Is pitching a crowdfunding platform. So I'm kind of getting into the fintech space because I realized that if there is no crowdfund, there is one that's a crowdfunding for female builders
Mm-hmm.
and developers, but none of the board looks like us. So, it has to be something for us where accredited and non-accredited investors can get in the game and they know about the projects that are ran by women and male, men and women, diverse developers in their city, because that's the only way that we're going to see diversity in our communities. Resources,
Exactly.
like the
Yep.
real resources.
Exactly. I agree wholeheartedly. So with that being said, I think this is actually a really good, again, another great segue into my next question, and that is how do landowners make money from their land? I know that may sound like a kind of silly question considering what you've shared so far, but I am curious because I've heard things like, oh, if you own land, you can make a killing from selling the trees on your land, or if you own land, you can make money from turning it into a garden. And like, you just hear all of these things and it's like, okay, what's real and what's not? Like, how can I make money off of a plot of land? So,
Okay.
what are your
There,
thoughts?
well, there are, yeah, there are a lot of ways. So, like, you can land flip, right? And that takes maybe 6 to 18 months or so, just depending on the demand in your area. So, you can always flip your own land, or some of your land. You can subdivide your land. So, say you have 25 plus acres and you only want to get rid of 5 acres. You can definitely subdivide your land and just sell off that 5 acres and it won't touch the other 20. So, that's one way to do it. Development, it does take 2 to 5 years. So if you do want to just develop on land that you already own, that's an excellent way to go about it. Residential or commercial buildings, you can even do an apartment building, and now you're cash flowing, you have rents. So now, which I think you might have been speaking about, was like a land leasing kind of, in which some people do lease out their mineral rights and their natural resources on their land, or they have cattle there to get that agriculture and homestead exemption. So those are some things that I know that people do in order to just take raw land that they're not living on and make sure that they're able to get some, return on their investment there.
Okay, that was really informative. Thank you for sharing that. Like
Mhm.
that gave me a lot of insight and information with regard to like again this notion that people push where it's like, man, if you own land, like you're just sitting on money and it's like, okay, but like how? So that really
Yeah.
helps tremendously.
Well, natural
Seriously.
resources, like you were saying, like I mean, sometimes it is the trees. Like sometimes if you do have a fruit that's growing and it's needed, you in the farming now. Like now
True.
you in the agriculture. So, or if you have oil, on your land, like you want to sell some of those mineral rights, and you can sell the mineral rights and still sell the property. So like somebody can still build on it and you still have control over just the mineral rights. You can just,
Mm,
you know, hmm
okay.
you
So
can do that. It's
so
just a
like
specific type of deed that you need to do that. But yes, it can be done.
okay. So with that being said, now I'm thinking about like I'm gonna switch back over to just you as a land acquisition specialist and how
Hmm.
at one point in this conversation you were saying that people have to save like 12 months of living expenses because you may not get more than one or two deals, maybe up to four in one given year. So with that being said, like what is the average time that a land acquisition specialist can expect to see a return on their investment? Like what does that look like on average? I know there are a lot of variables to consider, but is there kind of like an
So
average?
in development, I would say about 2 years for any real substantial. In the land acquisition part, I would say about 3 to 6 months.
Oh,
And so that would be like you setting up your systems, you kind of getting your systems automated, you sending out marketing, and then giving that marketing some time to respond. Plus, you have to understand too that the builders are going to take some time. So say I'm selling it to a local builder or developer, he may take 30 to 45 days with, 15-day due diligence and 30 days to close before they close on that property and you're able to get paid out from the title company. So, you have to, you know, play with that a little bit, systems, and then you do your marketing, and then you are closing out deals, and those deals can just have some contingencies based upon whoever that builder is.
okay. All right. So thank you for that. Wow. I mean, listen, my little spidey senses is like, okay, now let me go ahead and get in this land acquisition space, you know? I mean, it sounded
Come
pretty
on, it's got
attractive
to
to
be
me.
more of us. You see me, it's got
Listen,
to be more of
hey,
us.
we might have to go ahead and continue this conversation offline, sis. For real. Okay, so in your opinion, what makes real estate an attractive pathway to wealth? And I'm saying this in comparison to starting a traditional business, investing in the stock market, and or even climbing the corporate ladder. Like, what is it about this industry, in your opinion, right? This is just your opinion,
Yeah.
that makes it attractive and as a pathway to wealth?
Um, One of the greatest things I ever seen in real estate, and it speaks to me all the time. I'm actually going home to California on Saturday, and I cannot wait to get there. But one of the things that I always did was go to Bruce's Beach, and it's a little sector of Manhattan Beach. And if you've ever been to Manhattan Beach, California, um, it's not as diverse as like Long Beach and LA
Hmm.
area, right? But there is this little section there that was owned by a black family. And years and years and years later, right, the family sued the city of Manhattan Beach because their land sat right in the middle of this um, prominent area of Manhattan Beach. And so they go through this big legal case. The family, decades later, gets like, I want to say $31 million
Ooh,
for the city to buy back that little piece of the beach from them. So it even when you think that you can buy something in real estate and you can even lose it, right? But if your
yeah.
family fights for it and it was documented and it happened, it could years and generations later pay off millions of dollars that your heirs could use for other investments or do, they can do anything with. And so I think it's a
Mm,
vehicle that can be passed from generation to generation with proper documentation. And I think that's the importance of real estate over any other to me. And it's liquid. It's liquid. It's about as liquid as the stocks are. So,
yep,
and it's
that's a
more
good point.
tangible, I think. I can read that better than I can with stocks. And I'm talking about my personal opinion, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what
Mm-hmm.
real estate is for me. It's a vehicle, just like insurance is a vehicle. I think that's one thing that we don't do in our community as well that I think is extremely important because we are leaving houses and we're leaving mortgages that aren't being paid off by our life insurance when we pass because we don't have those particular causes and not sitting with our financial advisors that look like us, um, you know, who are trying to tell us. Shout out to my financial advisor, DA Fitch,
Hey,
DAU.
hey,
But
okay, I'm loving
he,
that.
Yeah, yeah. So you definitely you just have to definitely um I think plan and use those financial vehicles that we weren't typically using. I think that's how you continue to pass on the wealth and the
Yeah.
knowledge.
Okay. And with that being said, Miss Ma'am, could you let us know what projects you are currently working on?
So right now I have uh, four disposition projects that I am working on. Which disposition means is that distressed um, developers come to me and when they need to get out of a project, and I in turn shop that project to other builders and developers to see if they want to get in on that. I do have one capital market advisory deal that I am working on right now in Brookshire, Texas. Thank you. This is actually one of my first capital market advisory agreements that I have. So I'm really excited to get into that space because all I'm doing for that is just finding the investors for a project that's already been pre-sold to a
Mm.
national builder. So yeah, it's already pre-sold.
Oh, that's
They
beautiful.
yeah. So I'm doing that. I'm helping with that raise. One of my brokers brought me onto that. Relationships are so big because honestly, all of my deals come from my relationships. I mean, you may not see me on social media a lot, but I'm always at a networking event. I'm actually about to go to one soon as I leave here for Houston Black Realist Association. So, like I definitely try to stay in the loop and connect everybody. So those four disposition deals, we are actually getting inventory for our growing buyers list that we have on our just land acquisition side.
Hmm.
So I am really excited about that. We have about five clients, I think, right now who are looking for land in a particular area that's just so hard to break. And so we're starting some new marketing strategies on that. And I'm honestly I'm excited about all of the movement. And then
Yes,
um, the shovel platform that we are going to be coming out with probably end of next year, um, in which that's the fintech crowdfunding platform that we're working on. So
definitely pumped about that. And congratulations on all of the projects that you've been able to secure thus far, especially going into 2025. I do have a side question. Could you kind of explain to us what is it called? A capital advisor? I forgot what
capital
it's
market
called.
advisory,
Thank you. Yes.
yeah, no problem. So that is someone who does a capital stacking. So basically, um, it would be either looking for investors, um, negotiating equity on the deal.
Mm,
So say um, someone needs 20 million to do a project and the overall project is, way more than that. And say they're like, okay, well, how much equity can I get in this project for the amount of money that I'm investing? So I kind of negotiate that. Um, and then also looking for funding, looking for things like mud reimbursements. That's something that I don't know if they have that everywhere. I know that's something that Texas has a lot of.
hmm.
And so just basically, I look for the money, help them look for the money. I counsel them. I put together sponsorship package and investment packages, and I kind of shop those to some of the wealth managers that I know to see who would be a good fit for that particular project.
Okay, so in other words, you the plug is what you're trying to tell us. So everybody, y'all need to make sure you scan Dez's connect with me. She
QR
has the
code.
QR code. Y'all need to make sure y'all scan that QR code because not only because she's the plug, but seriously, like you have dropped
Thank you.
so
That's so sweet.
much value in this conversation. Like seriously. I mean that like I
I
said when I said
appreciate that.
earlier, this was a master class. I'm not even kidding. Like I feel like I need to put this thing behind a payment gateway and then you and I do a little 50-50 deal because like seriously, this is like nuts. You have really given us so much value. And so I am looking at the time. I want to, first of all, thank you for being so gracious because we are, what,
Yeah.
5 minutes over now. I'm going to wrap this up super quickly. There were three
Nice.
questions that came
Okay.
from social media. Then we had our brother Marvin Osborne in the chat here. He asked a few
Okay.
questions. So some of these I will say that I feel like you've already actually answered these. So the first one comes
Okay.
from my dear friend, who is an economic development specialist. Her name is Maria Wiley. She was on my very first YouTube live. And
Nice.
so her question is, what strategies do you have for acquiring buildings that need to be repurposed and converted into a commercial business or community space? Now, I'm going to just kind of say, I know that you spoke extensively about the importance of community. You talked about tapping into those resources like your Chamber of Commerce and the economic development offices or departments, whatever I'm trying to say for that particular city or state. Is there anything else that you want to add to that that you haven't already shared?
Um, I focus on the when you're especially when you're repurposing commercial spaces, just focus on the viability of that space. Um, right now, office spaces aren't the best unless you're doing some co-working spaces or community hubs. And then if you are, I know I just heard about people who are repurposing some buildings like hotels and things like that into one bedroom apartments. So just make sure that you're in the area. I would say something like making sure that you're in an area where a one bedroom apartment is, something that a lot of people would need in that specific area. Stuff like, and I just dropped this, like, say you are, that Tesla is building um, on the on the other side of Houston, right? Say you know that they're building there. Now you know that if they're building a hub there and there's nothing else around there, that people are going to be coming in to work at that warehouse, that office, or whatever it is. If you see Amazon, you see HEB, or I'm sorry, HEB is in Houston. You see Iverson's, Vons, all of these grocery
Yep,
stores. If you
grocery
see
stores.
their hubs coming in that area too, you have to understand that they're going to have workers, especially in those rural areas. And that would be a place where if there is a hotel there that you can turn into a one bedroom apartment, that's something that you would, that could work for that type of area. If you don't want to go into a place where there's a whole bunch of families and they need three-bedroom homes and think that you're going to do well with, making one bedroom apartments. So it's just knowing that area. It still goes back to knowing that area and
Hmm.
then just kind of trying to serve that area in whatever capacity that's needed.
Okay, thank you. That was super thorough and very informative. So, and also, Maria, once again, I want to thank you for asking the question. The next question came from my big sister, my biological sister, Teresa Lloyd. Thank you,
Uh,
sis, for dropping this question. So, she asked, what area should we be looking for land for purchase? Now, obviously, I know that you're based in Texas.
mhm.
Um, from Cali, but based in Texas. So, I mean, what are your thoughts, right? Like, what are your thoughts about that? I don't even know how you feel about answering that question because obviously, I feel like, again, based on what you've shared with us, it sounds like being interconnected and intertwined in the community really is the key to making a
Mhm.
decision, an informed decision about where to purchase land, right? So,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts about it?
Well,
I don't even, yeah.
also where job growth
Mm,
aligns with affordable land. So job growth is big. Again,
okay.
it's kind of the same example. You see an Amazon warehouse coming, they're gonna have employees there. So you know that jobs are gonna be. You hear about hubs going to different cities and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the places that you want to look at. That's how you can really tell about the emergent markets. You can see where they're going and then get there before everybody else.
Okay, super insightful. And the last two questions, I promise, from Marvin Osborne. Again, Marvin, thank you so much for being engaged in the chat. Again, shout out to all of you that were in the chat engaging.
Thank you
Bill with
guys.
Brittany, thank you so much for answering the questions in the chat. I know Marvin was asking you to repeat the titles of the books, and she jumped in and shared that information.
Thank you,
Donnie,
Britt.
my great friend Donnie, my copy cousin Donnie, thank you for being here as well. Thomas, thank you for
Thank
coming in.
you.
Construction Craze, thank you for being here. Like, really, thank you all so much for being here. So, again, to wrap us up,
Thank you guys.
Marvin asks two questions. Marvin wants to know, what is your process for buying land for duplexes and or elder care homes? So once again, we have another question that's related to acquisition. What are your thoughts? I know you just shared, you answered my sister's question, you answered Marielle's question, but specifically as it relates to duplexes and or elder care homes, what's your process?
So, wow, that's so interesting that you say elder care. Because I consider myself the niche that I am going into is caregiving communities, right?
Excellent.
So not
Yep.
just communities that are, like for people who like me who have kids, but for people who are taking care of special needs adults, people who are taking or who are my age who are taking care of their elderly parents. Those are the type of communities that I'm interested in that offer resources for them. So for me, I would definitely go into areas that maybe right outside of a suburban area for that, so that it's close enough to any facilities and amenities that they need to be at, but also out the, giving them some space in order to have a real community where they feel safe, and giving those resources in that community. So I think that that's what I will focus on if I'm looking for those.
Okay, thank you for that. And then Marvin asked, this is the last question. He
Oh,
wants to know
sorry, he
your
asked me
thoughts.
two questions. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
he did. No, 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 it's okay. I didn't even ask you the second one. It's okay.
Okay, okay, okay.
Um, he asked, what are your thoughts about Wharton, Texas? What are your thoughts about that city or
Um,
town?
if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's near Montgomery. I
I
have to
don't have
look
a
at it.
clue.
But I would
Okay.
definitely, I don't mind if you can. I'll have to look at it and then I'll be able to show you too. Um, After I just kind of like have my eyes on it. But if you scan my QR code and you put your information, I promise you I will get to you because it goes straight to my phone and I will follow up with information for you and good data.
Okay, and Marvin is still here. So Marvin,
Thank
you heard what
you.
Des said. Please scan that QR code right here. It's right above her shoulder, and she will be able to connect with you. She'll look into Wharton, Texas, and she will definitely connect with you. He said it's 50 miles outside of Houston. So Marvin, make
Mhm.
sure you connect with Des so that way she can get that information to you, okay? And Marvin did
And
put in
what
the
you're
chat.
looking for, what type of project that you're looking to do in that space.
I would imagine he probably is interested in elder care. I see here he put that he's a healthcare provider, so that's probably why
Mm,
he asked the question about the elder
yeah,
care piece.
I got
But
you.
Marvin,
I would
when you
love to
reach out,
connect with you.
and James Ealey Jr. said, "You are very good, cousin, and you are very good at what you do. Love you." That's so
I
sweet.
love you too,
That is
Jay.
so sweet. And sis, I love you as well. Thank you
I
so,
love
so
you.
much for being here. Like, again, this
Thank
was a
you.
wealth of knowledge. This was a real life master class. You have been so generous with your time. We're basically almost 15 minutes over the scheduled time. So, again, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm excited about all the projects that you're working on, and I cannot wait to continue
Thank
to celebrate your
you.
success.
Thank you. Thank you. And same, thank you for having me. Like I love what you're doing. Like the copywriting, the like exposure that you're giving not only me, but you're giving to other entrepreneurs. Like hats off to you, sis. I love what you're doing and in
Thank
any
you.
way that I can support it, always, always, always.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. And look, I'm sorry. I just saw in the chat. So we kept shouting out Marvin, and it was actually it's Veronica. Veronica said, I'm using my husband's iPad. So Veronica, I'm so
Oh,
sorry about
got
that
you,
because you
Veronica.
actually put that up in the chat early on, and I completely forgot. So I'm sorry about that. Willie Mae Aldrich said, great job, Des. So yeah,
Thank
you're
you,
awesome. And
man.
again, we'll probably have to like
Thank you,
bring you back
guys.
on like mid 2025 just to like see,
Get the catch
what you've
up,
been
get
up
the
to.
tea.
Exactly. Yes. So thank you so, so much for this. And Veronica said, great job.
Thank you, Veronica. I really appreciate that. Thank you. and definitely connect with me. I love, love, love connecting with people. So, and I love talking about real estate. Clearly, I was scared to get on here today. I really, really
No,
was.
oh, I couldn't
And,
tell.
and my partner was like, "Girl, you talk about real estate for an hour. You do this every day."
Right, exactly. I listen, I could not tell, seriously. And Des, I did want to say too, if you want to tell people, I know that they can scan the QR code, but if you just want to, verbally tell people what are your social media handles so that way they can connect with you, whether it's on LinkedIn or, the name of your
Absolutely.
business, like all of that.
Yes. Yes, yes. So there is one for at Land Scout Pro. My personal is at Mogul Bay. And that's on Instagram. And then on LinkedIn, Land Scout Pro and myself were on there, Des Ealey-Carson. And Facebook, I'm on there, just my name. So you guys can find me. I'm real easy. And then also too, even on the QR code, it's at the bottom as well. So y'all
Perfect.
check it out. And or you can visit my website as well. So you, landscoutpro.com.
Okay, I'm putting it in the chat. Landscoutpro.com. So you all, she just dropped her social media handles. She dropped her website as well. Please, please, please make sure that you go and you follow and you visit the website. Do all the things, okay? Make sure you support Des. And Lakita Johnson said lots of great knowledge. Definitely
Thank
put my head
you.
in a different space. Yeah, man, I'm telling you, I have to agree. I have to agree. This was really,
I love
really,
that.
really
I
informative.
love that.
Seriously.
I wanted to just make sure I gave you value. So I'm glad that you feel that.
Hey, early on, hey, I wish I had the sound effect because listen, you gave us, hey, y'all better not be surprised in a couple of days if I put this thing behind a paywall. No, I'm playing. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. But seriously, thank you so much, sis. And
Absolutely.
to everyone, including you, sis. Happy holidays, happy new
Happy
year.
holidays.
You all finish this year strong. And James said, just pick up when he calls.
Okay.
Look,
I got
hey,
you.
hey, James, hey, cuz, you see your cousin is too big. She too busy out here closing these deals, cuz we gotta wait until she when she get them seven figures, then she can have a little bit more time
Ready.
for the phone calls, okay?
Right. Call me while I'm in the car. Okay.
But no,
I think
seriously,
my
thank
whole
you,
family
sis.
know to catch me like that.
No, same. Well, again, I'm Miss Professional, so everybody has to get on the calendar with me. So that's just where we are right now, folks. You got to get on the
Boundaries.
calendar with me. Everybody has to get on the calendar. But okay, sis, seriously, have a great night. Love you. Thank you
All
so much for
right.
being here.
Thank
And this
you
was a
so much
wealth
for
of
having
knowledge.
me.
All
Thank
right,
you so
my
much for having me.
pleasure.
Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you all so very much. Thank you, thank you. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and end the
All right.
live. All right, y'all.